So good morning to all of you. So we will continue with the session that we have on branding. And I wanted to share with all of you some of the websites where you can get details about the brands that are there in the industry. And we will look at, to begin with, some of the websites pertaining to the FMCG companies, some of the jewelry companies. So I have also brought in, for example, if you look at HUL, I don't know whether any of you have been able to go to some of these websites before for any of the work. If you see the brands here, for example, in HUL, these are across basically categories which have been considered to be, commodities and which have got branded and which are in the fast moving consumer space, wherein there's a lot of competition. And Hindustan Unilever has always been considered to be one of the breeding ground of CEOs, that is people who join the companies go forward in the later part of their careers because of the kind of rigorous exposure that they have in handling products and brands. These professionals thereafter go to become CEOs, chief executive officers, and leaders of different companies at the later part of their life. So most of the CEOs in different companies today in the industry would have at one point of time or the other spent some of their professional stint in companies like Hindustan Unilever, more so in Hindustan Unilever than others, right? And so why is this company so great? Unilever is known universally to be one of the topmost companies across the globe for the kind of branding initiatives that it has taken from across the world, across different kinds of products. And what you see on the screen is the Indian subsidiary of Unilever, which is Hindustan Unilever, also known as HUL. So what are some of the brands that are available? Let us have a look at that. So if you see the categories on the screen here, therefore brands are the names. So what we are going to see is the continuation of what we have learned since yesterday. Now, what is it about in order to ensure that the categories per se, so group products and services together, which can seamlessly benefit from value chain integration and be directed towards meeting the needs of the customers in a cohesive way. So what are some of the categories that you see in HUL here in the under the branding? We see categories like beauty and personal and refreshment and home care. Now there are three categories broadly which are there, and under each category of course there will be a brand name. Now supposing we click on beauty and personal care, and then gradually we'll come and see that why these broad three categories have been made. So if you click under beauty and personal care, I hope you're seeing the way my cursor is navigating. I'm navigating the cursor across on the website of HUL. So I have chosen the beauty and personal care, and now I'm going to see some of the brands. So in order for a student or any kind of customer to understand what kind of brands are on offer from HUL, they can as well go to the website and understand all of these. Now, as a customer, practically, where do I get exposed to all of these brands in the market? Supposing I want to buy toothpaste, I want to buy cosmetic product. Normally, say pre-pandemic, where do you think customers were going to buy the products? Where would they get exposed to the different kinds of products which are available or the different kinds of brands? Kindly put your answers in the chat box. So post-pandemic, we've seen a lot of people shopping online for groceries, for rice, for wheat, for basic commodities, for household products. People are purchasing things online. Pre-pandemic, during the pre-pandemic era, for the last so many decades, where do you think your parents would have bought the soap that they have used for detergents, or the detergents used for washing the clothes or for cleaning the utensils, buying the daily commodities like rice, wheat and all? Where have people gone and bought those things from? Have they gone to the website and bought it, or have they gone to the stores to buy it? What have they used? How have they known about the different kinds of offers in the market? First and foremost, they would have gone to the market, right? And once they have gone to the market, how have they purchased the items? How did they purchase the items? Did they go to any shop? Did they go to any kind of agent? Did they go to any kind of seller? Now, is the kind of retailing different? Right, very good. Thank you so much, Omkar. Supermarket, Kirana stores. Now, is the buying going to be different for a different category? Now, supposing parents have to purchase fresh vegetables. All right, father has to go and purchase early in the morning, say for example, eggs for the house, or somebody has to, purchase packets of milk for the house. And supposing someone chooses in a family to get packets of milk, fresh milk delivered to the house. Now, where do they go and get these things? Do they go to the retail stores, or is that available on the footpath, or any kind of unorganized retailing stores and all that? So in India, for example, we are not in the habit of purchasing, say, milk and keeping it in the house and consuming that particular product over a period of 3 or 4 days or 1 week. But if you see the consumption pattern across in the Western countries, they typically would visit the retail stores once in a week or once in a fortnight, purchase whatever is necessary, and would keep it in the fridge and would be consuming. Indians by nature, most of the fresh foods that we consume, like vegetables, dairy products, non-vegetarian products, vegetarian products, milk and dairy products, are mostly purchased fresh. Right, and these kind of fresh purchases are made, not, as you said, not only in retail kirana stores, but it could also be in unorganized vendors, from vendors who are operating in a very unorganized manner. For example, a vegetable vendor who's sitting on the road and vending, for example, vegetables or potato or tomatoes or onions. Of course, some of these have also got concrete stores. So what I'm trying to say is that, therefore, there are different ways by which consumers do purchase their daily need products. Among some of the daily need products happen to be the fast moving consumer goods, which are also packaged products, which are also available in retail stores. So pre-pandemic, or before the online era of purchases came in, before our Flipkarts came in and our Mintras and our Amazon.com came in, people used to go to the retail stores and would purchase the items that they would see on the shelves of those stores, right? And they would get exposed to those brands. So what happens is, people used to get their brand awareness or build their brand awareness from the packaging of products that they would see in the stores. And the other method of purchases would be, say, for something like beauty and of which we are looking at in HUL, would be things like references from friends and family members, colleagues, peers, reference groups. So people would share their experiences about which brand of product they're using, what is good, which one is good, which one is not so good, and people would go by those kind of recommendations. Now, that means in the contemporary era, of course, you have social media by which we get a lot of information from people around, which means you get information not only from your close family, friends, peers, colleagues, and all. You also do get to understand and see, view what kind of opinions people across in the entire world are sharing about different products and services that they are exposed to, courtesy the social media. That is, it could be a Pinterest, it could be an Instagram, it could be a Facebook, it could be LinkedIn, it could be simple Google, it could be reviews, it could be the feedback that is being shared after a post purchase on Amazon or a Flipkart. Right? So people are getting their information sources from various places, and that's something that all marketeers will have to keep in mind. So now coming back to understanding the categorization of brands. So categorization is taking place in terms of grouping products which are meeting certain needs of customers and which also can be produced and marketed cohesively with a certain kind of value chain activities. So let us look at the beauty and personal care under HUL to get an idea about the brands that are prevailing. So what are some of the brands in the beauty and personal care we see? Most of these brands, if you see the pictures that are on the screen right now, they are, of course, like we saw yesterday, it's a combination of name, term, sign, symbol, or a combination of all of them. So you see an Axe, you see Dove, you see Lifebuoy, you see Lux, Pepsodent, Pond's, Rexona. These are all terms which we have, or the names of brands that we have all grown up with, including all of you, even in the new generation, right? And so you can find out that there are so many types of brands which are actually there in this space. Let me scroll the screen down. You will actually be able to identify different brands. And what is the most interesting part of this branding? The fact is that, for example, if you take any of these products randomly, say, for example, if I choose Lux, one of the most well-known brand in the country, all right, where celebrity endorsements have been used, and n number of case studies have been made as to how Lux has used celebrity endorsement to mass market this brand. And it is not something as premier as Dove. For example, Dove chose not to use celebrity endorsement for a reason that they felt that their user proposition or the benefit proposition is very unique, and it is a premier offering wherein they believe, the marketeers have believed that their intended customers are not going to get swayed by just because a celebrity, so to say, is using the product, right? Whereas on the other hand, if you look at something like Lux was marketed on the belief that you need to mass market this brand to create awareness among the people. And one of the best ways to create awareness among the people would be to use celebrities who are well known in the country. And one of the most used celebrity sets used in the market would be people from the Bollywood sector. So you see a different set of marketing strategies being used for Lux as well as for Dove, right? Now, the other interesting aspect is to understand that there are varieties of packaging and sizes of products under each of these brands, right? So there are often different kinds of varieties brought in. Otherwise, it is felt that customers will lose the interest in that brand. So you have at certain point of time, you would have seen in the stores, or you would have seen people talking about Lux strawberry, variant of a soap, Lux chocolate variant of a soap, Lux peach variant of a soap, and so on and so forth. Under Dove, you would have seen Dove for falling hair, for oily hair, for this kind of hair. Dove has been branded for soaps. Dove has been branded for shampoos and conditioners, right? So there's a purpose behind branding and extending the brand name into different categories, provided the brand for what it stands for, the value proposition is going well into the category. For example, you may not be able to extend, and you should not be able to extend Dove into a category like utensil soap, right? You cannot have a Vim bar kind of a thing, which requires a lot of rigorous washing, material. It cannot be branded. HUL cannot brand a utensil cleaner with a brand name extension of Dove, right? Because Dove stands for something which is definitely moisturizing, something which is soft on the skin, which takes care of the skin. There's a subtlety in that. And you cannot definitely use Dove to be a brand extension. The name cannot be extended into something like, for example, washing powder. Are you getting the point? So it can be extended into categories which is to do with beauty and personal care, in which people are looking at not only the cleansing capacity, but also a kind of a care for the skin. That's why Dove for soap and Dove for shampoo, two critical aspects, hair care and skin care, which requires a little bit of sensitivity. All right, now let's look at the other set of brands which are of course there. So you have a Dove in the shampoo category from HUL. You also have a Sunsilk from Dove the HUL company in the shampoo category. Sunsilk has been here in this country for decades altogether. Dove was introduced a decade or so earlier, right? Although it has been in the global market for long. Now, why do you have in the same company for the shampoo category two different brands, Dove and Sunsilk? The proposition is different. Just as we looked at in the soap category from HUL, you do have a Lux and you do have Dove soaps, right? Soap category, two different brands, and just not two different brands. You do have Dove soap, you have Lux, you have Rexona, right? Now, why are these three types of brands in the same company being targeted to customers? They would be meaning for, or it is typically meant for different target segments, right? So we will look at all of these a little later. What I'm trying to bring into perspective here is that every marketeer will need to identify the segments, identify the targets within the segments that have been identified, understand which target of customers you're going to actually propose your brand proposition to, and you need to understand how the brand has to be positioned. So this segmentation, targeting, and positioning becomes a strategic concept which has to be acted upon, executed with different branding strategies. And that's why there's short and quick examples which I took about Dove and Lux, say in the soap category, Dove and Lux in the shampoo category, and I mentioned about Dove and Sunsilk in the shampoo category, and I mentioned about why, for example, in the soap category itself from HUL, you do have a Dove soap, you also have Lux soap, and you also have Rexona soap, among others. right? So there are different kinds of strategies which are executed, and branding is one such process or one such tool that you have in your hand. All right, so there are different kinds. So let us come back to the company that we're dealing with and recall that we are looking, what you're seeing on the screen are some of the many brands which are on offer from one of our top companies in the fast moving consumer space of HUL, Hindustan Unilever. So here we see brands which are on offer, which are coming for different categories. Pepsodent, say toothpaste, will be in different pack sizes, and they can have different kinds of propositions. You have Vaseline, you have Breeze, you have Fair and Lovely, which is Glow and Lovely, whatever. You see some of these brands which are not only a combination of different kinds of proposition, their look, their picture, their color combination, their graphics itself is totally different, right? So you have a host of brands. Let us go and see the second page of this particular company, and we see so many more coming up on the screen, and many such products you would have seen in the store, which are actually imprinted on different packs and bottles and cartons, which indicate which brands they belong to. All right, now let us look at a different category. So I'm scrolling up on the screen and we are looking at the website. You can make a note of that. It is hul.co.in, hul.co.in, which is the company's website. Under that, you have to click the tab of brands, and under brands we are now looking at the second category. Now let us see the second category, and we said that categories of products are different based on the need that they are satisfying, and which would also have different kinds of value chain activities in order to procure and make them and target market them to the customers. Now what are some of the brands under the category of foods and refreshment from this top company HUL? Boost, Cornetto, right? Can you put on your chat boxes how many of these brands would you have personally consumed, or you would have bought it for home, or you like it? So there are so many brands on offer here. Boost, Horlicks, Growth Horlicks, Horlicks for Mothers Plus, Protein. Have you seen the kind of Horlicks offer? Different kinds. From the branding itself, you understand for whom this particular product is meant for. Junior Horlicks, right? So I'm sure that you will be able to understand Junior Horlicks definitely is going to be targeting a different segment, typically children, growing children, and say Horlicks Mothers Plus will be typically targeting the mothers, right, as a segment. So segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Are you able to appreciate the practical implementation of segmentation, targeting, and positioning in action? Now let us look at something else. Now under this food and beverage category, we have Knorr, we have Brew, right? Knorr soups, noodles, you remember? And Brew, which is definitely into this beverage. Annapurna. What is Annapurna going to be branding? Any idea about Annapurna? You must have heard about Annapurna and its competitor.
It's salt, ma'am.
Yes, yeah, salt also, and even into wheat as well, right? Very good. So we have different kinds of products. Now, if you see here, Lipton, you have Three Roses, you have Red Label, you have Taza also. Now, what are these getting targeted into? These are getting targeted for different kinds of customers, but the basic proposition is tea. But tea is just not tea itself. Tea has variety of flavors, variety of variants. All right. Yeah. Just give me 2 minutes. Right. Thank you so much. I'm back. So we are talking about, for example, 3 tea brands from the company Hindustan Unilever, which is typically for different kinds of products, and 3 brands which are just not different names, but they're a different combination of design and graphics and everything put together. And the proposition of a Lipton as differing from something like Brook Bond's Three Roses to Brook Bond's Red Label to Brook Bond's Taza, has different propositions, and that's why tea is being marketed under these different brands with different packagings and different pack sizes for different types of customers. All right, and of course, who can forget the Taj Mahal tea, and of course the celebrity endorsement that has been used for Taj Mahal. So each of these brands, if you see, students, my dear students, is that each of the brands, if you go back to the history of these brands per se, even from this screen, you will find a variety of marketing techniques that have been used by the company over a period of time, and you will see that it has been done precisely for a reason, that there were different marketing communication objectives of each of these brands, and the marketing communication objectives have determined what kind of strategies are going to be used for a certain brand and how that is going to be different from another brand. All right, so each of this is something that you are most welcome, and I encourage all of you to actually go through it at your free time as well, because it is not going to be feasible and possible for all of us to look at all the brands that are there in the country, forget the world, all the brands, the top brands also within the span of your courses. So it's only possible that I expose you to the resources. And why do you think I'm using a company like Hindustan Unilever? The reason is, the moment you're a market leader, you're doing something, as we discussed yesterday, you're doing something which is really good and fantastic, which is really attracting customers to you, which means the best practices are being used in the market to capture the attention and the acquisition of customers. Right? So that ensures that you remain as a market leader. So it is a fantastic way of understanding the market, by understanding how the market leader has been behaving. And especially when you have a company in a category which has been a market leader for decades, you really understand that they must be doing something really worthwhile, for which they have been able to keep their top leading position for years together. Of course, certain months and certain years, you may have some of the categories within the company which would have different kinds of results. But basically, when you talk about companies like Procter and Gamble and Hindustan Unilever, or Unilever in the country, in the world today, we are talking about leaders who have made a difference in the marketing space. All right. So these are the reasons why we need to look at brands from leading companies. Now, what is the third category in Unilever? The third category is home care. Right? So kindly just recall for a moment, what are the categories that we've gone through? We've gone through beauty and personal care, and we found that the products are different, right? You could have a soap and a shampoo and moisturizer and all of that. Then we have looked at the category of foods and refreshment, right? Tea, coffee, soup, noodles, right? And that's why the category is different. And now we are going to look at something like home care. Now, what is home care and what are the brands under home care, right? So on your screen up there is a set of pictures, right? Now, what is a set of pictures? Rin, Surf Excel, Vim, all right, Sunlight, Domex, among many others. So how are these brands different from the ones we saw earlier? So we said, for example, I was giving you some highlights that when Dove was extended from soap to shampoo, it was thought to be natural because it was pertaining to beauty and personal care, where the softness and the reliability of the brand is very important. But I told you, be extended into something like a home care segment, like for example for washing utensils. Why? Because for example, if you see Vim here, it's meant to be of certain ruggedness. It needs to be very tough on the stains of utensils, and you need certain amount of softness on the hands also. At the same time, you cannot use something like Dove, which is standing as an image. The brand image of Dove in the minds of the customer is for something else. You cannot use the same brand to be introducing something in the utensil care category, or for example for washing fabrics, clothes. So what are some of the brands that are typically used by homes in the country for washing clothes and all? Rin, it is a age-old brand. Surf Excel, Wheel, all of these. And if you see these detergents which are used for washing clothes and all, again there is a certain amount of the ruggedness which needs to come in, certain amount of what should I say, the element of removing dirt from the clothes need to come in. And when you talk to people, you will find that Rin is absolutely in that economy segment where people are buying it because it has a very low cost and it is very strong in removing the dirt from the clothes. And then if you talk about Surf Excel, it is of course doing the same thing, but it is a little bit more softer on the fabrics. It will not destroy the colors of the fabric. So there's a segment behind that. And it's a little bit of premier segment that is Surf Excel is targeting, a little bit of higher price because of the kind of value additions that it is bringing on into the detergent product per se, which is giving not only the cleansing capacity but also ensuring that the fading of the clothes also does not happen, right? And similarly, you have a Rin and a Wheel almost in the same segment and a little different from Surf Excel. So there are different ways by which the different brands. So yes, these are detergents meant for fabric cleaning from Hindustan Unilever, but different brands with different value propositions. All right. Now, if you see these three again have different competitors in the market, right? With different sets of, value propositions, Ariel and all of that. The other thing about branding here is that it is not only about making the soaps, say Rin soap, in a soap cake category format, rectangular, solid format, but they are coming in powder format also, right? Even certain ones are in liquid format. You also have to take care as a marketeer the different type of consumption styles that are going to happen for the product. So people are going to use also washing detergents in their washing machines, right? So for washing machines also, these variety of clothes detergent like Rin and Surf Excel and all are also coming in varieties which are different. That is meant for non-frothing. It will not create foams. Normally, Indians, what they like to see is that when the powder soap is actually used to wash clothes, it should create foams, which tends to indicate. So there have been ethnographic studies done by all these marketeers in the homes of Indian consumers, especially when Unilever came to India. So they tried to study the psyche and the pattern by which clothes used to be washed in the country. And they found out, among many other things, that when people are going to use clothes detergent to wash clothes, it is typically used by pouring water in a bucket, hot or cold, depending on the kind of usage pattern. Pour the soap, and in earlier times, if it was a cake soap, people would scrape that soap and make it into tiny flakes, immerse it in that hot or cold water. Hot water, all the better, it tends to dissolve that soap, and also tends to, that is what Indian women used to believe, that hot water with the soap will tend to remove the dirt from the clothes faster. And of course, not everything can be subjected to the hot water treatment. Of course, there would be silk and there will be woolen clothes and fabrics, which Indian women felt is not really necessary to put in hot. It would damage the fabric. And so they used to use cold water for that. All right. So now the next thing that the marketeers noticed in these ethnographic studies meaning when you do the consumer ethnographic studies means you go to the homes of the customers and try to do a survey, try to find out how people are using products in their natural setting, in the normal regular setting of the usage of the product. So they found out also, among other things, that they would like to see, the Indian woman would like to see whether the soap was acting to remove the dirt or not in terms of the froth, the foams that are coming out. So if it is foaming, that means the soap is actually working and the dirt is getting removed. If till and until that frothing is happening or till that foam is being formed, they would feel that it is not cleaning the clothes. Right. So most of the products for fabric cleaning, be it soap cakes or detergent soap cakes or detergent powders, had to have that frothing capability. Now, with the change in the washing pattern and with the advance of technology, with the introduction of washing machines, what it was found is that these washing machines would tend to not function well if there was a lot of frothing which is happening from the soap powders. Right? So washing machines needed soap, which would not create foams. Hence, it was not really useful in the long run if you wanted the long, life of the washing machine to be possible, you cannot use the regular powder soaps that were available in the market, which were meant for hand washing of clothes, where frothing is going to happen or foaming is going to happen. If you use it in the washing machine, what would happen is, whether irrespective of whether it is a top loading machine, top loading washing machine, or a front loading washing machine, the moment the detergent would come in contact with the water and the washing is going to happen, it's going to froth, it's going to create the foam. Now that foam is going to be very harmful for the machine in terms of the letting the machine run normally. It would create breakdowns faster. So it was necessary to create washing machine intended specific washing powders. And therefore, these brands that you see in the screen and their competitors also came out with different formulation of washing powders meant for washing machines. So what is happening? The brand remains, but the packaging, the content, the variants need to change according to the consumer taste, preference, and wants. Three things. So taste, preference, and wants. What is happening now? People who could afford a washing machine, and in most cases these days what has happened is you can have maids coming into the households of Indian families, and most of the maids are not in favor of washing clothes at all. They would rather say, please do not give me that. I don't want to get paid for that. You can please use washing machines for that. And I would rather stick to mopping the floor and cleaning the house and washing the utensil. That is why, dishwashers as a category, although it is again the same thing, it is meant for specific use of washing utensils. Dishwasher as a category has not picked up in the country for a variety of reasons. That itself is another case study altogether, right? Wherein because of the kind of utensils that we have, the handis and the big vessels and the kind of stains that we tend to accumulate as part of our cooking process, that tamarins and the turmerics and all of that, the brands in the market which were making dishwashers were not able to cater to the requirements of the Indian market very fast. And families found that it was economical to engage a maid and do the utensil washing. And even if the maid is absent for some time, it was okay for the household members to put in their efforts together and wash few dishes now and then, even if they're. So there have been, for all of these reasons, the less the market adopted the product, the prices of the product of dishwashers could not be brought down. If you see the case of the televisions, or if you see the case of washing machines, the faster they were adopted in the market, the prices of the varieties also came down. So right now it is, of course, dishwashers are being bought by different segments of Indian families, more so in the higher income segment and all of that. And even in that category also, coming back to the point about brands, for example, the utensil washing detergent to be used in a dishwasher has to be in a liquid form only. That's why to an extent Vim has also adopted itself. Vim and Prill and all of these have adopted itself, and they've come up with liquid utensil cleaners, which of course many of the Indian families today, what are they using? They're also using, even if they don't have a dishwasher at home, they are still using the liquid form of the detergent to wash their utensils, because it is normally felt, the perception is that if you are using a Vim soap cake, the solid form at home, that is more rough, or that is more harsh on the hands, and it is supposed to be kept only for the maids. And if the lady of the house or people in the household, the family members want to wash something, they would rather prefer the liquid version. So there are different perceptions to that, and there are different stories around that also. Vim, with that, if you see the picture of Vim here, it is just not a name and term and sign and symbol like we say in branding. What is a brand? Brand is a name, term, sign, symbol, or a combination of them intended to identify the group of seller and differentiate it from the competition. Now, if you see Vim here, for example, it is with that image of a slice of lemon. Right now, why the slice of lemon? There's also a story behind that, which we can go into later. And there's a story behind the fact that, of course, lemon and the concept of lemon washing things faster and making things faster is coming from an Indian belief and system, saying that lemons have greater washing power and all of that. And it has also been released that once it came out with this kind of an imagery on the liquid Vim soap packs, it's in some part of our country who are not able to understand understand the English writing on the packaging, they mistook it and they thought it is a lemon flavor to be used in tea. And you cannot believe it. There have been news which came out which say that there were some people who actually used some of the drops of that Vim lemon liquid when they were introduced in the pouches the first time. People actually used few drops, mixed it in the tea. Now, why? Because of the literacy levels, because they could not understand the English writing on the pack, right? What is it meant for? And people mistook it and then used it, and then they found that, okay, this is not a lemon flavoring for tea, but it is actually a detergent. So there are many kinds of such kinds of case what should I say, histories or case stories that are there behind branding initiatives. And when you market a brand to a country as diverse as India with multilinguistic characteristics, and people do not really only understand only English language, and it is not about illiteracy, people might be knowing how to write and read in their own language, but may not always know how to read and write English, which can be predominantly used in some of the packs of brands. So there can be issues and funny things like that. For example, for washing machine, there were stories that, in Chandigarh or in Punjab, people have used it to make lassis. Okay, now how much of that is really true and how much was it a fact, we don't know, but that is how it was felt that, people who were vending lassis, selling lassis and all, they found that it is better to use the washing machine, more so the top loading ones, to mix lassis of greater volume. Now, so these are things that are there for the different kinds of branding initiative stories that are there. So coming back to the issue about branding, so brands are in so many formats, right? So what have we looked at till now? We have looked at different categories of fast moving consumer goods, which is beauty and personal care, foods and refreshment, and home care. And we've looked at a variety of these brands which are there on offer. Right now, if you go to this, the brand website itself, you can also click on a particular brand. Like I told you, you can do that in your own time and get yourself familiar with some of the at least the most prominent brands in this way. So you can click on a particular brand like Sunlight, and you can go to the page, and then you can discover the different kinds of marketing communication that has happened. So my dear students, what I really encourage you to do is that please visit these websites, go to these brands. And why go to some of these well-known brands? They are well-known because of a purpose. They are well-known and relied upon because of a certain set of strategies that have been used and which have clicked in the market. They are used on products which are meeting certain needs which are really felt by customers. And these are brands which are winners in the market for years together, which means they are doing certain things right every time, and it is working in the market. Right? So that's why you need to go through some of these brands and understand what they have actually done. All right. So this is one of the practical ways in which you can get exposed to different kinds of brand cases. All right. Now let us look at something before we come back to the theoretical aspect again, which way the PPTs will help us to go through. So let us look at one of a different kind of a product. So I chose our homegrown Tanishq. Anybody knows what Tanishq is all about? Ever heard of it? You can put your answers. Tanishq. So that is another category which has been used by the Tata Group to brand different kinds of jewelry products. So among commodities or among things like gold and, precious metals and jewelry products or precious metals and stones, you have a Tanishq which has done branding at a different level altogether. And again, Tanishq is one of the leading marketeers as far as all of these jewelry products and precious metals and stones are concerned. So you have different kinds of jewelry. So what I'm putting on the screen right now are the different categories. So what are the categories? Earrings, pendants, finger rings, Mangal Sutra, chain, neckwear, nose pin. So what is there about all of these? That means brand, although it is Tanishq, but it will be bought by different kinds of people depending on their needs. Now, what can the needs be? Their needs could be to have the jewelry meant for ear wear, or something which is for putting on their chains, neck chains. So it could be a pendant. It could be rings that you put in the finger. And of course, there are different cultural nuances that have to be kept in the country that should be in the minds of the jewelry makers. So you have a pendant, and of course you can have a toe ring, which is again a different kind of a thing, and a finger ring, which is again different. So again, the marketing itself is totally different. Then you could have a bangle, bracelets, pendant and earring set, gold coins, where people just purchase the precious metal in order for investment or for gifting with an investment related aspects. All right, and there could be gift cards, and there could be a Mia category of jewelry also. Also, if you notice, the brand marketing here has been done gender wise. So what are we talking about here? Remember, we talked about one of the critical elements of marketing being identifying segments, then targeting, deciding which segments to target, and then positioning the brand. STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. So what has Tanishq used here? Tanishq has used the gender category and identified its different categories to market the products, right? So what are we seeing under the all jewelry category? There have been gender wise classification of the market. So jewelry meant for men, jewelry meant for women, jewelry meant for kids, and jewelry which can be used by both sexes, unisex. There is another way by which the segmentation has been done by this brand, which is based on price banding, which is below 5,000, 5,000 to 10,000, 10,000 to 20,000, and it goes on, and it can range from 50,000 rupees and above, right? And what are the other categories that you see? So observe the different marketing strategies which are done by the brand. So it is just not enough to do a brand name or give it a term, give it a sign, symbol, and that's it. It is just not enough to understand that there is a marketing communication objectives to be. How do you set the objectives? How do you target the different branding propositions to the customers? So see, these are the practical examples in the market. So let us look at Tanishq going forward. So there are gold jewelries under different categories. There are diamond jewelries, right? There can be engagement rings, which are again meant for different occasions. So people's life events, if you remember consumer behavior. So people's life events are also very critical points at which marketers can target their different kinds of brands and products. Digital gold collections and all of the other products here, right? So if you look at the branding of this particular brand, Tanishq is here. What do you see on the left side of the screen? 20% off during the festive season. So this is about sales promotion. What do you see on the right hand side? An exemplary design about their jewelry product. Now, what do you see in the center of the screen? There's a face of a lady, of a young girl. Okay, you cannot make out whether she's a homemaker or she's a working woman, and it's typically typified. So there is no kind of stereotype which is used in the branding communication here. And the main thing is about the person using the jewelry, and which are jewelry not only meant for different kinds of only festive occasion or any kind of celebrity occasion, but something which people can wear at all times. And then what you see on this particular navigation page itself, there are different kinds of design. So the brand in this case, unlike what you saw in HUL, that's why for today's class, I chose these two companies especially to showcase to you that depending on the type of product, you will need to brand and develop your communication strategy accordingly. So for something like jewelry product like, and for which Tanishq is one of the leading brands, design is of critical importance. So there are a lot of designers who are employed on full-time, part-time, freelancing basis, who develop these kind of designs, which are actually then fabricated or formulated into different kinds of products, which are then marketed by these companies, right? What are some of the competitors that you can think about for Tanishq? I'm sure you can think about many such, jewelry companies, which are, again, if you remember the big brands, it could be a big brand, Krishna Shetty here, it could be, something like Reliance Jewels, and it could be different kinds of, local jewelry stores in different cities and towns in our own India. So there can be big brands and there can be smaller unorganized players as well. So we now come to the stage at which we are now ready to understand and take forward from yesterday as to what is it that we are actually learning about brand. So what we learned yesterday about brand is the definition of brand. Let me just share this with you. So we have discussed what is a brand, and if you all remember, what is a brand? The definition of a brand. Brand is a name, term, sign, symbol, or a combination of them intended to identify the goods of one seller or group of sellers and to differentiate them from competition, right? And then we've seen what are the brand elements. What is a brand? Brand is made up of all the awareness and reputation and prominence. And the big definition of brand is about the brands which really people know and talk about, versus a brand can be as simple as just naming a product. Now, what are brands versus products? We saw that product is anything that can be offered to the customer. And we saw that when the tangible aspect of the offer is normally considered to be a product, versus something which is intangible is normally considered to be a service. And of course, something which is offered from an organization is possible that it is not only just a product or service, it could be a person, an organization itself, a place, or even an idea. And then we came to the stage where we tried to understand what are the 5 levels of a product. And that's where we thought of seeing some examples. So there are 5 levels of a product. The core benefit of the product is actually for need satisfaction. The generic product level is the basic version of the product, the expected product. So if it is something to do with, say, personal beauty care soap, it is meant to clean. So the core benefit and the generic product level would be pertaining to the cleaning aspect. Expected product level would be something of set of characteristics that customers normally will expect and agree when they are purchasing a product, which means there are differences which is there between a beauty soap and a clothes detergent soap. The augmented product would be something which will be the additional product attributes. For example, you are buying a beauty soap and you chose to buy a Lux and not Dove, or you chose the opposite. You chose to buy a Dove because of the cleansing capability and also the moisturizing ability. And you did not buy Lux, which was supposed to be there for cleaning any which way. So there's a reason for Dove with its additional benefits versus Lux with its benefits of cleaning. So Lux and Dove is both meant for beauty care, but Dove will have an additional aspect. So the augmented product level would mean additional product attributes, which in the case of Dove marketing, they propose that not only is it going to clean your skin, but it is also going to make it softer and supple, right? The potential product would include all the augmentations, all the increases and transformations that a product might ultimately undergo. So today, not only do we have products, beauty care soaps, but they also come in shower gel format and all of that, right? And so you have different levels of a product. The same 5 levels of a product can be seen in terms of different kinds of offers. For example, a hotel room, a lodge can cost you something like 500 or 1,000 rupees a night, versus a 5-star hotel, which can cost anywhere between 50,000 to 1 lakh to 2 lakh night, depending on the kind of offer that is there. So different kinds of products can be there. Look at something like a mobile phone and you will understand. There are mobile phones available in the market to purchase for 2,000 or 5,000 rupees per handset, versus mobile phones which are available above 50,000, 70,000, or even 1 lakh rupees also, right? So what is additional in them is what makes the additional pricing proposition to the customer for the value. How Apple is priced much higher in the market, and why it is considered to be a status symbol, OnePlus or other kind of products, right? So there are different kinds of value that brands can communicate, and it basically emanates from the 5 levels of a product. So brand is therefore more than a product, as it can have dimensions that differentiate it in some way from other products designed to satisfy the same need. So brands can therefore be different. So like we talked about different kinds of brands. And why is branding therefore important? Because there are certain functions that the brands perform that make it valuable to the marketer. And what are some of these brand functions? As we have seen with seeing some of the examples from Hindustan Unilever or Tanishq and all, is that it identifies the source of the product. So people who see Vim know that it is from Hindustan Unilever. When they see Lux, they know it is from this company. When they see Sunsilk, they know it is from this company. When they see Tanishq, they know it is from Tata, and people consider it to be so reliable, etc. I think a little bit of a technical glitch happened. I am continuing. I'll just reshare the screen. Give me a moment. The network just went down for a while. So we were talking about the importance of brand to consumers. So we said brands will also provide risk reducing capacity. So when a brand is reliable, it provides to the customer the assurance that there is no risk attached to the purchase and consumption of the brand. So what is risk actually? The expected loss, the possibility of economic loss that can occur. Search cost reducer. So normally what happens is people tend to buy and rebuy brands that they are actually familiar with, loyal to, and they tend to keep their loyalty because it helps them to not invest so much of time, energy into, getting to know some other brands and finding out whether it will work or not. The other is the promise bond pact with the product maker. So this is almost the same thing, which means you tend to buy brands that are functioning for you, that are very well known for you, and all of that. One such major marketeer is also ITC. And in the food products, we will look at that brand in a subsequent class, where you will see how ITC as a case itself diversified from product like tobacco product, which most people in the market don't really like or don't really want to endorse, to something like food products. So ITC ventured into tobacco products when it was perceived that there would be a public kind of legislation banning the tobacco usage in the country. And see how beautifully they have diversified into not only the food and beverage segment, but they have fantastically developed their businesses in the hotels, the hospitality space, and all of that, and even the lifestyle segment, right? So there is a promise or bond or pact with the product maker, and brands also provide a symbolic element of the kind of product and services that is capable to be delivered, and brands finally signal quality. Again, brands can be known for their good quality or for their bad quality also. And when you talk about reducing the risk in product decisions, some of the risks that are inherent in any kind of situation, the risk can be of different types. So what are the risks? The risk could be functional risk, that the product does not perform as per expectation. That's why for electronic products, you remember we were discussing in a prior class that electronic products are the categories for mostly which people tend to depend on a particular brand, and they tend to become loyal to the brand once they find that it is reliable. So we said, for example, we took two contrasting examples and said that, for example, if we're using salt and if you're talking about a mobile phone, because of the electronic complexity of a mobile phone, and someone gets very familiar or comfortable with a brand like, say, in their own way, OnePlus or Samsung or Apple, they might tend to rebuy the same brand the next time that they have to upgrade the product. But for something like a low cost and a low risk product like, say, salt or say rice, something which people can understand and check, they would say that, okay, if a Tata salt is not available, so what, let me just buy Ashirvad salt, which is available, and it is fine enough, it is good enough. So people might just choose a different brand if it is not available for something like salt or rice or wheat, if they feel it is the next brand is also equally good enough, right? And it is a very small unit purchase, and next time if the availability is there, they will go back to the original brand. All right. So there are different kinds of functional risk attached to different kinds of product. The more technically complex the product is, the more technical sophistication it is, there, the technology which is used is going to be affecting the functionality of the product, then brands do make a difference. The next set of risk could be a physical risk. The physical risk would mean, does the product pose a threat to the physical well-being or health of the user? That's why for marketing product categories like microwave ovens, in the initial years when they were used, people had a lot of misconception about how microwave as in may affect consumers. Was it safe for food? Was it good enough to cook food in the in a microwave oven or not? Is it good enough, or should it be used or not? So there were a lot of misconceptions that were prevailing in the market, which affected a lot of the microwave oven marketeers. And there are a lot of case studies actually, which we will perhaps be able to look at subsequently to give you a fair idea about how these were overcome. So the functional risk of a product is very important, and brands do make a lot of importance in terms of communicating whether they are reliable or not. The other is the financial risk. Is the product worth the price paid? Value for money. People do not want to see their economic investment, financial investment go waste. So it should not be that the product fails to perform. The reliability, the repairability of the product, as we saw in the previous class, automobile manufacturing and marketing, it is more about the after sales service than anything else. Social risk of the product. Does it cause embarrassment from others, from the perception? Psychological risk. The product affects the mental well-being of the user. That's why different categories of products, say tobacco or substance use, or the use of video games and things which can be addictive in nature, should they be marketed or should they be demarketed? Right? The time risk, the failure of the product resulting in an opportunity cost. So what is the time investment that has been done for purchasing the product versus what can happen if the product or the brand, after all the efforts put into acquire it, does not fulfill its promise, and what would happen if we have to reacquire it. So some of these are the risks that are inherent in the brands, and which we have seen, and we will restrict our discussion today to today's class to this much only, and look at what are the other importance of brands to firms at a later class. All right, so please do go through the recording of the session for whatever we've discussed with the practical examples. Should there be any kind of requirement to connect back, please do so with the LMS facility. All right, I will stop sharing the screen now. Is there anything else? Otherwise, have a happy Navratri celebrations. Stay safe.